Good afternoon, Saitlanders. I'm doing a number of videos up, as you know, because I've alluded to it on a number of occasions recently, fairly preoccupied by another project. And I'm spending a lot of time thinking about it, really doing nothing much but mulling it over, contemplating it, considering how to do it. And so today I'm prioritizing videos because in the past few days I haven't been able to do much, as I've battled a little bit with my solar system, as I've battled to adapt to being completely off-grid, because I refuse to use the new prepaid meters, because they will aid and abet and facilitate the African ANC local town council to steal our payments intended for Eskom all over again as they did before. So you see me in the same crumpled shirt as you have seen me in the past few videos. Crumpled because, as I've told you already, it is very hot and humid. This shirt, believe it or not, was ironed, and ironed well. We said it first. You know, I watch these guys talk on this television. I watch what all the intellectuals and the boffins and the experts and the NGOs and the what, the highly financed institutions, Helen Suzman, the de Klerk, say many things. And almost to the last word, it's meaningless. Because they, I beg your pardon, because they are hidebound, but because firstly they don't have a clue. They are clueless, like many intellectuals are. They are only good for writing university papers that nobody will ever read. Very, very little intellectual output is worth anything. I'm using the word intellectual advisedly. I say without, please don't take me the wrong way. But if you don't understand the word intellectual, it's not my error. I don't mean that in an ugly way. I promise you, I don't expect that everybody should have the same knowledge of things. I know nothing about cars. Absolutely nothing about engineering or anything related to engineering. And geez, there's so much that I don't know. But these people are not. You know how I can explain the difference between intelligence and intellect? And this is without disparaging anybody. You know those lights that you see on above stages that move around and they change colors and they have shapes, they project shapes and pictures and you name it. In the West, in English, they're called intelligent lights or intelligent lamps. But it's a misnomer. The Russians, for instance, call them intellectual lights. In other words, they don't have true AI inside of them. They don't figure that stuff out. They are just provided with the capacity to absorb programming by human experts and then to sort of regurgitate it in their performance, as it were. And that's the difference between intellect and intelligence. I must sound like the most horrible human being in the world, but when you consider the sums of money that these people receive, these foundations, these entities, over years. The Institute for Race Relations is over 100 years old. Did you know that? I can't say that I've seen that fact recently, but I vaguely recall it from some time back. Since forever, these people have received dollops to regurgitate rubbish. We explained how it is that the African National Congress is necessarily at the top of the capstone, is the uppermost tier, is the highest echelon, not in the composes the highest echelon of the hierarchy of. Guaranteed somebody's going to say that I made a Masonic symbol or something for doing this. It's a pyramid, for pity's sake. It's a hierarchy. Of the hierarchy of the crime and corruption in and around Eskom. That is how the African patronage system works. The African National Congress would not allow those things to exist unless it was the chief beneficiary, because the African National Congress is the big African man of South Africa. To use the famous BBC Panorama and Jeune Afrique phrase, a phrase that comes from within Africa. It is an African phrase. That they don't, men, hey, Mensa, and don't think that it's David Mabuza but not Cyril Ramaphosa. Don't think that. Don't think that. That is not how it works. They are all in on it. That is how it works. Whether these people comprehend that or not. It's very bad, guys. Very, very, very bad. I once held a debate on a forum that I've encouraged Saitlanders to join, called survivalistboards.com. I thought it was a very good forum, although I haven't participated in it for about 6 years, because I've just had too much else on my plate. And I had a debate with a guy called Xizero, so 11-0 or Cicero, who knows. And he made the sneering remark to me. In the end, we became slightly pally. So I don't begrudge him the remark, although I did at the time. Sneeringly, he asked the rhetorical question, why would the ANC kill the goose that lays the golden egg? In other words, why would it consciously consciously harm the whites of South Africa. The taxpayers, the people with the most knowledge and skills and experience and qualification and traditional centuries-long history of developing, of industry, of productivity, of commerce. The golden egg, the producer of the golden egg. And there is a very simple, very good reason. Because the African National Congress, the mentality of the African NC is, whether these guys like, it is. Whether there are exceptions, it is. Whether the exceptions are the only ones you know, because that's all you know in your... The fact remains that it is the case. That they hate competing centers of power. They cannot handle criticism. Therefore, you will never see open, honest, general criticism in any society in Africa, as you do in Europe, for instance, and as you always have seen in Europe. If you have any interest in things from the past, European things from the past, cartoons, newspapers, journals, books, parliamentary proceedings, and so on, then you know that that has always been there. They would rather rule over a dung heap than share a house, as it were. We said it first. We told you that this thing begins and ends with the African NC. And don't think that it's David Mabuza and not Cyril Ramaphosa. That's not how it works. And don't think that it is remediable or redeemable. Their determination is too great, and our capacity to intervene is too poor. Therefore, we have to stand by and watch as they destroy everything. And there is no prospect whatsoever of fixing it by privatizing it, or fixing it by hoping, or fixing it by hugging more closely, or fixing it by advocating more strongly for the values of the rainbow, or by professing more loudly your devotion to the new. It does not work that way. We said it first, and nobody believed us. Nobody. Not one newspaper, not one civil society organization, not one rival, not one YouTube channel, not one YouTube channel would echo that. And it was the most important statement of the past however many years. It was the thing that more people had to be saying more often. Hey guys, You know why the lady with emphysema who lives next door to you is dying? It's because the African National Congress is at the tippy top of the destruction of Eskom. That was the most important statement that had to be made, and nobody would make it. The silence of these people, may it be on their heads. Not one of them was willing to say, yeah, that's the style, that's the way it works. They were quite happy to see us go out on a limb in every hope that it would collapse under our weight and we'd plunge to the ground. Preferably in their minds, while we were clinging upside down, not going out on the limb, the limb of the tree on the top, while clinging upside down to the limb, so that we'd fall on the ground and be crushed by the limb. The African National Congress, not allegorically, not metaphorically, not so to speak, not as it were, the African National Congress is the prime mover behind the destruction of Eskom. Pravin Gordhan, David Mabuza, the president, who, knowing through every sort of intelligence what David Mabuza was up to, appointed him, promoted him, made him higher. Come, Baba, come. Nyakusiza.